Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge and welcome to my March reading plans. I know, as usual, this video is coming out way earlier than we think it should, but it is already the middle of the month, and I tend to start to put my TBR together about this time so that those who like to read along with me can start getting the books that they need and everything. Also, I took a hooky day from work to read House of Sky and Breath, which I'm sure a lot of y'all are reading if you are a fantasy romance crossover or a Sarah J. Maas lover. And I just needed to break up the day because it's a lot of intense things happening. So I was like, I have this video ready to film. Let's just go ahead and as usual, we start with our Rake Appreciation Society pick for the month. And I'm very excited that Crystal and I in March will be reading The Proposal by Mary Balog. So this is kind of fun too, because a lot of people who you know, are newer to my channel, which is totally fine, a lot of you are, and I will continue to have people who are new to my channel. I get a lot of people who recommend this series to me. They recommend The Survivors Club because this is the first book in The Survivors Club by Mary Balog. But funnily enough, this is actually the first series I ever read by Mary Balog. I read it about a decade ago, and I was actually reading it while it was still coming out. So there's that. But I read these books first, and I'm very excited to come back to them because it has been a long time. There are a couple books in this series that I remember really well, but then there's some of them that I don't. And this is one of the ones that I don't remember perfectly well. And recently, Crystal has started reading Mary Balog, and she has enjoyed some of them. And I was like, let's read the first one in this series. So we have The Proposal here. This one does have a step back. It just has the girl on it, though. But I will read the back. And I do have some libations because I'll probably be reading the backs of quite a few books today. So we have Gwendolyn, Lady Mirror, has seen her share of tragedy. Content to a quiet life with friends and family, the young widow has no desire to marry again. But when Hugo, Lord Trentham, scoops her up in his arms after a fall, she feels a sensation that both shocks and emboldens her. Hugo is a gentleman in name only, a war hero whose bravery earned him a title, a merchant's son who inherited his wealth. He is happiest when working the land, but duty and title now demand that he finds a wife. Hugo doesn't wish to court Gwen, yet he cannot resist her guileless manner, infectious laughter, and lovely face. He wants her, but will she have him? A dour ex-military officer who so gallantly carried Gwen to safety is a man who needs a lesson in winning a woman's heart. But through courtship and seduction, Gwen soon finds that with each kiss and with every caress, Hugo captivates her more with his desire and his love and the promise of forever. So the Survivors Club, which is started by this book, is about the whole series is about war heroes and surviving the Napoleonic Wars. And some of the heroes, and there's a heroine as well, they have PTSD or they have a physical injury, and they get together so many times a year or once a year to basically have like a group therapy time and a getaway together. So this series has always been really close to my heart because I love that it was about taking care of veterans in a way, because veteran suicide is still still a horrible tragedy, and it happens way too often. And I don't know, I just think there's something that can be learned from like reading about it happening in the past as well. This isn't something that's new. And I love that it's not like called therapy in this book, but they have a community where they can talk about what's happened to them. So enough about that. We'll be reading this. The date of the live show is March 17th at 7 p.m. and it will be on Crystal's channel. So keep an eye out for more about that. Then we have some new releases or books that I will be reading as an arc, or they will be coming out in the month of March. So I have a few books to talk about for that. So some of these I may get sooner rather than later, or else they will be coming out that month. So let's go through those real quick. So first we have, I have an arc of this book. It's called Going Public by Hudson Lin. So I actually read the first book in this series. This was a gay brother's best friend romance, and I absolutely love the covers of these books. It's also like business, billionaire, Office Place, stuff like that. And so this one is the next one in that series, and it's also going to be a gay romance. And I got the arc from, I think Catalina Press does these. I've really been liking their LGBTQ romances that they've had lately. Then, The Savage by Sophie Lark will be coming out. I believe that one comes out like March 15th or 16th. I'm sure I will be getting an arc of this one. Pretty positive about it. But also it comes out in the month of March. This will be book 5 in technically the Kingmaker series, but it will be like, you know, obviously if you have read Kingmakers, you know that Sophie only ever meant that to be 4 books, and Mr. Lark and some of her fans kind of urged her to write one more, because there specifically is a couple this one is going to be about, and I'm very excited. So I'll be reading this one in March. Then Parks and Provocation by Juliet Cross. This will be Juliet's first contemporary novel. It's going to be coming out with Smarty Pants Romance. I will hopefully be getting an arc of this one in March, maybe. But otherwise, I will for sure read it when it comes out. I don't really know too much about this because I'm kind of, you know, but it's going to fit into the Smarty Pants world. And I believe it's about like a park ranger. I'm not sure. I should know since she's my friend, but either way, I'm very excited to read it. There is The Demon Tide by Lori Forrest. So this is actually a YA/new adult series that's called The Black Witch Chronicles. I believe that The Demon Tide is supposed to be the final book. I haven't actually heard if that is confirmed, if it is. But boy, were we left with some cliffhangers at the end of the Shadow Wand, and I am very excited for us to find out how it's going to wrap up. So I say this every now and then. There are certain authors that I will dip my toe back into young adult for, and Lori Forrest is definitely one of them. I adore this series so much. And my friend Sam from Sam Reads a Little, she actually recently has just binged the 3 books in this, and so she really wants to buddy read it. And I told her that if I'm in the right mood for it, we totally will buddy read it. It's just that I've read a lot of fantasy in February, and we're not even done yet because it's Fantasy Romance February, and I just want to make sure I'm in the right mood to read The Demon Tide. Otherwise things could go badly, because if I'm not in the right mood, it doesn't usually work. Then The Dragon Bride by Katie Robert will be coming out. I will get an arc of this one because I'm part of her Patreon and we get arcs of all of her books, but also it's coming out the end of March. I think the cover and the title kind of speaks for itself with this one, so we'll just go with it. Then there is a book called Kink Camp by Adriana Anders that I was very excited to try. I think it's literally supposed to be like an adult camp that you can go to live out your kinks. And I think this one's supposed to have primal play in it. I think. So there's supposed to be more books that will be kind of in this series, but I'm very interested. I've read some books by Adriana Anders and they're very sexy, and I'm very interested to see how this book goes and what it's like, but I'm intrigued. Okay, so those are the ones that I have written down for sure. That's the thing too with indie books. There are always books that come up that I haven't even heard about at this point that I'll want to read, but I'm excited. So let's get into my physical TBR as well as book recommendations from you guys. So we'll start with the ones that are recommendations from you guys. So I picked 5 books that are from you guys. Yeah, I think that's what I did. Yes. Okay. So I picked, these I pick out from my viewer recommendation form. If you don't know, there is a link for that in my link tree, which you can find down below, the link to the link tree, and then the book rec form is in the link tree, and you can recommend books to me. And every month I pick between 5 to 10 books that you guys have recommended to me, depending on what I'm in the mood for. So for this one, I picked Featherbed by Annabeth Albert. I'm pretty intrigued by this one because I've read a few of Annabeth Albert at this point, and I'm pretty excited. And I'm pretty sure this one is with Serena Bowen's publishing. I think so. That's the cover on this. So this is a gay romance. I don't know anything else about it. I really didn't necessarily look these up. I just picked them based on what they sound like. Then there is Simply Sexual by Kate Pierce. So this is one Kate Pierce is an author I've been wanting to try because I believe this is a historical. There's this group that I'm a part of that's called Upturned Petticoats on Facebook, and it has only historical romances that are really spicy in it. Like, they literally have rules for, like, what is considered really spicy in them. And I have really liked what I've been recommended there so far. And so this happened to be on the book rec form, so I'm going to go with this one. Then I picked A Perfect Gentleman, which I happen to have bought because it was on there. And again, I also periodically go through the book rec form when I want to buy some used books and see which ones I can find. And so Candace Camp, I picked A Perfect Gentleman, which has a cute cover. And this one's a historical. So let's read the back of this one, okay? This one says, forced to marry an American heiress to save his family, Graham Parr, the Earl of Montclair, vowed their marriage would be a name only. Of course he did. But when Abigail Price thought the handsome aristocratic Earl was her knight in shining armor, rescuing her from her overbearing father, but when she was scorned by Graham on their wedding night, Abigail fled home to New York. Now, years later, Abigail has returned, but the sophisticated, alluring woman is not the drab girl Graham remembers. Appalled by her bold American ways, but drawn to her beauty, Graham follows her on a merry chase from the elegant ballrooms to the dockside taverns of London. Why is his wife back, though? What could she want from him now? Torn between desire and suspicion, Graham fears that Abby, like her unprincipled father, has a devious plan to ruin him. But is Abigail's true wish to see Graham's destruction or to win his love at last? So this is very interesting. Sounds like a second chance romance or marriage in trouble. We're going to give it a go. I'm excited about it. Then there is another historical that was on my list. And this one is Angel Creek by Linda Howard. I'm very interested in reading one of Linda Howard's historicals. I know she writes contemporary suspense and stuff, but this one came up. This one's from 1991. I have a first edition of this one, and the blurb was very interesting. And so this was one of the used ones that I found when I was searching out the titles, and this was recommended. So this one says, for 5 years after her father died, lithe, beautiful Dee Swan held on to Angel Creek Valley and her independence. The homestead was hers, and she vowed no one else would ever own it, or her. Then Lucas Cochran came to Colorado. In the drought-cursed high country, he needed Angel Creek and its cool water to turn his Double C ranch into the cattle dynasty he craved. His ruthless ambition guaranteed he would fight to take it away from the black-haired, green-eyed Spitfire who claimed it. But the passion that blazed between Dee Swan and Lucas Cochran shocked them both. Oh, but when they met. Unbidden, unexpected, their kisses swept them toward a dangerous destiny where dreams might be scattered, men could be killed, or love would be born as wild and unfettered as the glorious frontier. So, excited. I like the woman holding the gun there. That's cool. But yeah, so there's that one. And then one other one that was a viewer recommendation was Hitman by C. Hallman and Isabella Starling. And this is another one part of the Black Heart Romance collection, which is the one that had both Wrong by Adelaide Forrest and Descent by Sam Mariano. And I was already planning to read this one, and then one of you guys threw it into my viewer rec form, so I was like, perfect, let's pick that. Okay, so now it's time to do the prompts from my TBR tin. So I know that it's more fun when you guys get to see me pull those from my tin, but I need to be able to plan ahead of time, so I draw them ahead of time so that I can plan it. But let's go ahead and dive into these. So the first one I have is Read a Retelling. And this one is from Nicole Viscoglossi. Sorry if I mispronounced that. I probably did. And for this one, I decided that I wanted to continue reading Juliet's backlist, Juliet Cross. And when she was on my channel this month for Pharaoh Feb, I actually interviewed her. she was talking about her vampire series, which I haven't looked much into. I've mostly looked at her, like, her Stay a Spell series, as well as she has a Dragon Shifter series. She also has a vampire series that is a bunch of fairy tale retellings, which I did not know. So the book I want to read for Read a Retelling is actually The Black Lily, and it is supposed to be a Cinderella retelling, but Cinderella goes to the ball to kill the vampire prince instead of to marry him, and I think she leaves her dagger behind, is the way that Julia pitched this. So I was like, why have you not told me about this one? I'm a bad friend that I didn't know you had this amazing story hidden in there. So we are going to give that book a go in March. We're going to do it. Then the next one I have is The Title Relates to Music Somehow, and this is from Jennifer Smith. And for that one, this worked out perfectly because in Pharaoh Feb, I had continued this series by Laura Thalassa, and they all, like, this one revolves around music. This one is a dark harmony. So this is the third book in the Bargainer series. I know I'm the last person ever who hasn't finished this series, but here we go. We're going to dive into it, and I'm going to finish this off and see what happens with Callie and Des. There was a pretty big cliffhanger at the end of the second one, so I'm ready to go and finish this in March. Then I cheated like a little bit for this one because I really wanted to pick this book, but I do have abs on a few of the covers of my books, so we'll be okay. But I have abs on the cover, and this came from my friend Madison, recommended that as one of those. And so I picked The Immortal by Gina Showalter, and I mean, he's topless. There's some pecs and an arm, and we can't quite see his legs, but we know that they're there. And this is the second book in her, like, spin-off series from one of her other ones. That's A Rise of the Warlords. I read The Warlord a couple months ago, and I was pretty intrigued. It was a 4-star read. Like, it wasn't as romantic as I was hoping, which you don't always get with paranormal. You know, it doesn't always happen. But I just wanted to keep going, so much so that apparently I bought the hardcover of a freaking Harlequin book, but we don't judge me. We just go with it. So there we go. I'll be trying to read this book in March. The stack, you guys, it's real. Then this I thought was a very clever one. This one says, the title starts with the same letter as the month. And this is from Megan M. So that meant that I was looking for a book that starts with an M, and it just so happens that I started the Darkest London series in February as well. So we're apparently going to keep reading fantasy in March and hope that it goes well, because I have quite a few fantasy novels on my list. So I want to do Moonglow by Kristen Callahan. I thought that would be a cool one. I love the covers of these ones. So this is a gaslight fantasy that is also set in, I think, like the Victorian era is when it's set. Yes, late Victorian era. And I enjoyed Firelight quite a bit, so I'm excited to continue with this series. This one is about Daisy Craigsmore, who is now a widow. I believe she's a widow, or else she gets away from her husband. I'm not sure. It says she's free of a suffocating marriage, so I don't know if he died or what. And then Ian Ranulph, the Marquis of Northrop, who has a primal nature. And I don't know if he's like a werewolf or like what he's got going on, but I want to continue this series. The audiobook was really good for it, so I'm going to continue with that. And then the last one that's a prompt that I have is Book with a One-World title, and this was from Mahina. This was, I had a lot to choose from, but I knew which one I wanted to pick. Recently, The Fated Mates, which is a podcast that I absolutely love that is dedicated to romance, they talked about a book called Passion by Lisa Valdez. That is a erotic historical, and that it was kind of like a sensation when it came out. Literally, it was from Berkeley Sensation, and it just kind of like wowed people, because there's like, it literally starts with this couple like fucking in public at a fair, like behind a curtain, and just their review of this book was just bonkers to me. And so I ran out and got it. I have both Passion and Patience. I ordered from Thrift Books and got them right away. And I want to read this so badly. So I got myself a copy of Passion immediately. and I'm excited to see how it goes. And then I have one other book, which wasn't for any of my prompts at all, but this book I think has been recommended by you guys before too, but this one was also mentioned. This author is mentioned a lot in my the Upturned Petticoats group, as well as I have read her traditionally published books, but I have not read any of her indie pub books yet. And so I'm going to be reading Accidentally Compromising the Duke by Stacey Reed. I believe this is the first book in the Wedded by Scandal series. So you say, I ordered this in the Target sale, which was the buy two get one free. They actually have some indie books in there, and they had this one, so I grabbed it. So this one is in 1817, so it's a Regency. Yeah, I'm very excited for it. So there we go. Those are all the books I'm planning to read in March. It's also my birthday month in March. Can't wait. So there are a few things that I'm planning to do for my birthday that might include rereading some of my favorite books. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, thank you for making it through this chaotic, TBR video. I don't know what's happening today, but thank you so much for watching. As always, make sure you subscribe to my channel so you can find out what I think about these awesome books. I review every single book that I read on my channel, so, definitely come hang out sometime. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.